Hello guys, this is Pedram Raufi and you're watching the markets review of the day. Today is Friday and sessions for stock market, of course the Forex market, are going to close, but we are going to check what would go on from next week and how the markets would close today and during the day. So we're going to find some solutions for intraday traders to close, or maybe to just hold some tradings for next week. And of course, we're going to check the news background and see what kind of news we had and what kind of situation we have now on the markets, what changed from the previous time, and what kind of predictions we have for the future of some important and famous assets by which we can trade on our platform of MT5 and MT4. As you already know, the stock market of the United States is not in the best mood. Unfortunately, S&P 500 have break through the 4,500 level, which was a target level, and the situation which we have now is the retest of this level. And in the long term, maybe we could get some correctional reversal movement as well, but because of the situation which we have now and because of the impulsiveness of this downward movement which we can observe here, the next reversal, the probability of the realization of next reversal is more likely. Despite all of these factors, you have to know that the reversal, the correctional upward movement, it's going to be happen. It's going to get realized maybe during some days, maybe during some sessions. So it's not what would happen in the near future. So for near future, maybe we could say that continuation of downward movement is more likely. But if we observe any kind of expansion of the volatility near to this level or under this level, there would be more signals and more probability of the next reversal. Before we get above 4,500, there is no chance for reversal actually. And if we retest this level impulsively as well, there won't be no chances for reversal. So if we get stuck under this level, and if the 4-hour chart candles, 1-hour chart candles are going to stock under and close under this level, this would mean that continuation of downward movement for the stock market is more likely. Don't forget that there is an analytics about the future of S&P 500 and about S&P 500 and the stock market of the States movement during this year, which is saying that probability of the continuance of the rising movement, of the upward movement of the stock market is not that low. And mainly the stock market in long term during the year is going to continue the upward movement, and maybe even it would rise about 10% more. So during this year, there is a probability of the rising and the continuous of upward movement of S&P 500 and Dow Jones. And you just need to know that the retest of this kind of important levels would obviously maintain some further consolidational movement or volatility expansion during which you cannot continue the bearish trades. You cannot continue the sells. So just pay attention on this factor. And of course, Dow Jones is showing us that it's exactly as like S&P 500 is retesting a really important support, and it's retesting it really impulsively, which could mean that this retest is going to, this breakthrough is going to be a false breakthrough. So mainly in the midterm, we're waiting for the reversal. But the continuous of downward movement in short term is the thing that we have to pay attention on as well. So let's see what kind of releases we have for today's day. And the economic calendar is kind of full. European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde is going to speak today, and Canadian core retail sales is going to release, but with no change actually, which means that you really need to pay attention mostly on the oil market, because the oil market is going to have most impact on the Canadian dollar because of the straight correlation which they have with Canadian dollar. When oil rises, Canadian dollar rises as well. So here, because of the prognosis, we cannot say that the volatility of the Canadian dollar could really rise too much. But if oil prices are going to fall suddenly, the Canadian dollar could really fall as well. So that's something we have. But about the oil market, I just wanted to remind you that from previous time when we talked, oil was about 85 or $80, and there's a probability of the next further continuation of the upward movement of the WTI prices, which could actually continue to $100 level. And there's really good news for the buyers of oil, but we actually need to pay attention that correctional movements always can happen, and analytics are just about midterm or long-term tendency of the market. And Janet Yellen today will speak as well at 16:30. So maybe dollar would get some volatility. The United States dollar could actually get some higher volatility. And we're going to check the 4-hour chart to understand what's going on really. There's a mirror level about 95.60, 95.80, which is now retesting. And the probability of next reversal downward is more possible than the continuation of this upward movement, just because of this expansion of volatility which is happening here. So the expansion of volatility will end, and after that, mostly we are going to have some continuation of downward movement. But before that, upward impulses as well are so possible. So we have to pay attention to this factor. And in the case of any upward impulse or impulsive retest of the nearest resistance, like 96, 96.20, the next tendency, the next trend would be really downward. So pay attention. If the upward movement is impulsive in the near future, it would mean that continuance of dollar's downward movement or moderate downward movement for next week as well would be more likely. And let's see what is going on with the Forex pairs like Euro, Pound, Australian dollar, and New Zealand dollar to United States dollar. So the situation here is kind of a continuation of upward moderate movement, which could continue, but all of it really is related and depends on the dollar's fall. So if dollar continue to fall, if oil prices really continue to rise in the near future, and if the gold prices as well continue to rise, for example, in the near future, dollar would have more place and more potential to fall. But if oil and gold are not going to fall, maybe there would be a situation in the markets that dollar would continue the moderate upward movement, which would make all of these pairs and the stock market to just consolidate further. So for maybe day traders, better to pay attention on the borders which we have inside the channels. For example, for euro is about 1.1480 and 1.1250. And during this and within this channel, inside the channel, the movement is continuing and the consolidation is continuing. But there would be a most important part about the retest of 1.14, which is the nearest psychological level. And we kind of stuck under this level, and because of the probability of its impulsive retest in the near future, there would be a better probability and a higher chance of next reversal and downward movement or the continuation of consolidational movement for euro. And for pound as well, we have stock under 1.37, which is a near psychological level. And I think that maybe in the near future we could get some downward impulses, but we have to pay attention on the really important and powerful support of 1.35, 1.3480. Let's say 1.35, which is psychological. So the retest of this level could really make pound to reverse and continue the upward movement next. And all of this would really depend on the dollar's next downward movement, which is more possible, which is more, there's more potential for it. But because of some fundamental factors, we cannot say that. Because of the Federal Reserve System monetary policy tightening, which is kind of going to happen within some months, not now. So here, technically, the potential of the dollar's downward movement is more higher than anything else. So the stock market, the euro, pound, Australian dollar, and New Zealand dollar could really start to rise further or even maybe more impulsively and more powerful. Australian dollar as well showing us that downward movement which happened previously due to the 4-hour chart was really impulsive, and we have already retested the really important mirror level of 0.72, and I don't think that we are going to fall further. So if we won't fall further, this would be a really good sign of the next reversal and continuous upward movement. We could get some impulsive downward movement, but you have to pay attention in the case if we get any impulsive breakthrough of local support or the local minimum, the probability of next reversal and the continuous upward movement is more higher. And the New Zealand dollar, which is impulsively going down as well, but here we have a local minimum, and we have its impulsive retest, which is happening now. So there would be a probability of further downward movement for euro, for stock market, for pound, for Australian dollar, for New Zealand dollar, but mainly we are waiting for some reversal, which is going to make prices to just continue this consolidational, midterm consolidational movement, which we have now. And let's see what's going on with commodity prices. Commodity prices previously rose really strongly, and the main reason was the escalation of the situation in Eastern Europe and the stock market situation which we have now because of the spreading of the new variant of the coronavirus, which named Omicron, but mostly WHO even said that maybe we are getting near to the end of the pandemic, which means that the effect of pandemic, the effect of this scare and this fear on the market, on the stock market, would be lower, lower, and lower, which actually would not help that much commodity prices and risk asset prices to rise further. So pay attention, maybe this breakthrough which we had here for gold prices, which actually made prices to break through 1,830 and retest 1,840, is kind of a false breakthrough in the midterm. So if it's a false breakthrough, the next thing that we have to get is that we are going to stock under 1,830 or even continue the consolidational movement between 1,830, 1,820. And this kind of scenario would mean that prices are going to dump. They're going to go further and deeper. But the main long-term tendency, as you see, is upward. There is kind of suspicion here because of this expansion of volatility that prices are not going to rise further. So pay attention to this factor. And for intradays, maybe it's more logical to just wait for prices to retest the local maximums and then just get the impulse downward, which would go which would goes on due to the ATR index. And let's see what's going on with silver prices, which is a commodity as well, precious metal. Impulsive retest of the local support, local resistance. As I actually told you from previous time, the continuous of upward movement was really possible, but this upward movement is really, really impulsive. And the main thing that we can say about silver is that technically it looks, and the chart looks more conservative, like Dow Jones. For example, when Dow Jones is getting near to some local support or local resistance, the main thing that we can say is that there is a probability of reversal, even on the S&P 500. So here for commodity, silver is really similar to Dow Jones index, which tell us that indexes are going to reverse the movement after the test of some local support or resistance. So here, because of this retest, because of this impulsive retest, yes, there is more potential of upward movement, but it is going to be just further speculative false breakthroughs, breakouts, and that really would make you to believe that prices are going to rise further. But because of this technical thing that we have here, really impulsiveness, really strong impulsiveness of the movement, I cannot say that prices are going to continue this trend, and they're not going to continue this upward movement. It could be upward movement that is going to happen inside the shrinking channel or shrinking wedge, and there won't be any volatility, there won't be any power in the price, so in the price movement. So here there's suspicion of next reversal, or the continuation of consolidation, or even an expansion of volatility. And US dollar to Swiss franc Japanese yen, showing us that dollar prices is really getting near to local supports and impulsively is going to retest them. Here, some bad news for dollar sellers, I think, because maybe prices are going to reverse upward. Here for United States dollar to Japanese yen, we have some mirror level, which is now retesting 114, about which I told you previous time, retested really impulsively. And in the case, if we get strengthened above this level in the near future, there would be a probability of continuation of upward movement. But in the case of if price gets stuck under this level and continue the downward movement under this level, there would be more probability of the downward impulsive retests of the local minimum or even further. So we have to pay attention. 114 is a really important level under which we are going to fall and above which we are going to mainly rise. And as the same for United States dollar to Swiss franc, which actually looks more conservative. You can here see and observe the local support, which is really powerful and which we could retest anyway. So 0.91, 0.9080 or 0.9060 even could get retested. But you have to pay attention that here we are going to have some consolidation. Here we are going to get reversed anyway in midterm, but potential in the near future is more bearish. Oil prices, about which we actually told you about the retest of 85, 86, and the movement which we are going to have in the case of the this volatility remaining on the markets. It would be really the continuation of upward movement to $100. But in the case of any releases about the reducing of oil reserves in the world or in the United States, which would be really related to the decision which made Biden about energy crisis, which they have to fight it. So let's just free all of the reserves, all the oil reserves, and just make more supplies, so the prices won't go higher and higher. Because of that, maybe I think that oil prices could get under some pressure. But this would be correctional movement, which maybe have been started already. But you have to pay attention. For example, H4 or 4-hour chart showing us that prices are already under the local support or under the historical resistance. So if we get stuck under $85, there would be more probability of the continuation of downward movement to $80 to $70, even $5, and etc. But here is one support, and here's the next support mainly. It's 82 and 78. Let's say it's actually $80. It's actually $80. So the retest of $80 as a continuation of this correctional movement is really possible as well. So we have to pay attention on this factor. If we are going to have a really short volatility, have a really the continuation of formation of really short candles, really shrink volatility under 85 in the near future due to the H4 chart or H1 chart, this would be a really good signal for the continuation of downward movement. But pay attention, again, I'm repeating, this movement is correctional. This movement is a midterm correctional movement. And United States dollar to Canadian dollar, about which we already said that there is some releases for today. And if oil prices continue to fall and the United States dollar prices start to rise, there would be more probability for this pair to rise as well. 1.25 was a really good level which have been retested, and about which we already said that this level would really make prices to stop downward movement. And as we see here, they stopped the downward movement, but let's say above this level, we are going to buy. Under this level, we are going to sell. So any impulsive movement downward would mean that prices, then the potential of the downward movement for United States dollar is higher and oil is started again to rise. But due to the oil chart, due to the WTI chart, the probability of the oil upward movement continuation in the near future is kind of low, and there's more probability of the oil prices downward correctional movement. So here maybe we could say that maybe we are going to have some correctional upward strengthening of this pair in the future. And of course, euro to Canadian dollar, euro to oil prices is showing us that prices are going to strengthen above 1.42, which is a near psychological level. And 1.40 haven't yet retested, but 1.40 is a level which is the most psychological level in the nearest future, which could get retested as well if oil prices rise. But these kind of charts mainly showing that prices are going to reverse, maybe continue the upward movement to the nearest Fibonacci levels, for example, 1.43 or 1.44, and after that they're going to reverse and continue downward movement, and even there's a possibility of the retest of this psychological level. And pound to Canadian dollar as well, showing us that we have some reversal and reversal probability here, but 1.770 is a psychological level which is retesting. But anyway, the potential of downward impulsive movement remains on the markets. So pay attention, there would be some impulsive downward movement. But you have to pay attention that if we won't get above 1.71, at least 1.7050, there won't be any continuation of upward movement for this pair. And we're going to finish today's program with the review of Bitcoin price and Ethereum prices, which remain under the really strong pressure. And all of this pressure actually, started by China's policy about the crypto regulation and the mining regulation. And it's continuing. Russia just yesterday banned all the transactions, crypto transaction and mining of the cryptocurrencies, which actually made Bitcoin to feel this downward impulse and to fulfill this downward impulse. But you have to just remain in your mind that downward movement is going to continue. And as 2 months ago, JP Morgan, or I think if it was Goldman Sachs, said that the real price and the real value of Bitcoin is not 40,000, it's not 50,000, but it's 30,000. So there is more opportunity for bulls to return to the market after the retest of $30,000. Before that, there's more probability of the continuation of downward movement, unfortunately. And the Ethereum prices as well, they're showing us that they're kind of falling 3,000, and the breakthrough, which is continuing, and there is a really good potential of the continuation of this movement. But pay attention, you would get some upward or consolidational movement here as well, or even some strengthening, some correctional strengthening here. But you don't really need to believe that. And if you are a scalper, if you're working by M15, 15-minute chart, 5-minute charts, or you're working with minute charts, there would be some probability to make some bullish or long positions come true. But in midterm, there's really no chances for now and for bulls. And thank you guys for watching this video. Don't forget that on our platform we have different instruments by which you can actually optimize your trading process, and different kind of courses on our main official site of Gerchik Co, by which you can actually optimize your professionalism, which could help you in the future if you are even a beginner or if you are even a professional trader. So don't forget to check our website, don't forget to check the products which we have, which are free actually for using on the MT4 and MT5 platforms. And don't forget to subscribe on the channel and ring the bell so you won't miss any kind of programs which we could have in the near future. Till next time guys, have a good tradings. Bye bye.